Hello, I'm Chief Warrant Officer 4, Vic Pinion, U.S. Navy retired, telling my sea stories. This one I'm titling Fumes, General Quarters. I was a third-class petty officer aboard the Ticonderoga in the catapult crew. When we would make a deployment overseas, the air group, meaning the squadrons, all of the different squadrons of airplanes and their crews, maintenance people, supplies, equipment, everything would come aboard, and we would make the cruise, the deployment. Our typical cruise back in those days lasted 9 months. They were scheduled to last 9 months. I had about as many of them that were extended to up to a year as I did that weren't, because other ships would have a problem, have to go get in repairs, and we'd have to take their job. In any case, when we returned to the States, the air group would fly off the ship, and when we first moored, after pulling back in, they would have all of their equipment, tools, parts, everything staged to offload from the ship onto big semi-trucks and take to the base where their squadron was based at. The spaces that they occupied aboard the ship were dual ownership spaces. When they were embarked in the ship, as in physically aboard, they had responsibility for maintenance of those spaces and to keep them in good repair and clean. When they were not, the alternate ship's company outfit, a specific division, owned those spaces. Well, there was a turnover thing when we returned to the States. After they had moved out, they completely moved out of their spaces, somebody from the owning division would go with a man from their squadron and inspect that space and make notes about its condition before signing the turnover slip. Well, the first time I did that, I did not know specific things that needed to be done. And when the ship, before they re-embarked to go operating with us again, they would have us clean the space, paint it, or whatever. So wait a minute, this space has been locked up ever since they left. Nobody's been in here. It didn't matter. They claim it got this way after they left. Okay, this dummy learned. The next time we returned to the States, I personally inspected every one of them, and I made notes of every discrepancy in every space. Well, this one Ready Room 5, belonged to the fighter squadron. I noted that the deck had many coats of red deck paint, and where these Ready Room chairs had been slid back and forth all over and scratched the paint and all the way down to the metal in some cases, and they would just paint over that. And it was ugly, many coats of paint, many big deep gouges, scratches. It was ugly. I made a note of that, and I got the man that was with me from the squadron to agree with it and sign the turnover slip with me. Well, when they were getting ready to re-embark, a couple of 3 months later, an officer from the squadron came aboard and inspected, and he claimed the deck of Red Room 5 needs to be chipped and painted. And he made that through his officer channels, and it came down to my division. Now, my division officers were aviators on their ship's company tour. Their loyalties, they came from the squadron to the ship when they transferred to the ship. And when they transferred off, they were going back to another squadron as an aviator to fly airplanes. Their loyalties were with the squadrons, not with us. Their division, they were our bosses, they owned this division. But they didn't support me. They supported the squadron. Pissed me off. I even know I had it in writing. I talked to my chief, I talked to my petty officers, to no avail. They assigned me 2 non-rated men and some manual paint scrapers and chipping hammers, no power tools, nothing, to go down and chip that deck. And it was hard. The paint was cured, many layers of it. It was hard to chip that paint. And I tried to get my petty officer to provide me with power tools. No, you've got tools, get busy. I was frustrated. But I had been in the rescue crew, and we'd also poured sockets on cables in the catapults with the Retrex engines. We used a degreasing solvent called trichoethylene. It's a CFC. I'd spilled some on the deck when I was in the rescue crew, and it immediately dissolved all of the oil in that paint and made it all curl up and come loose from the deck. So I'm down there chipping away with my 2 men, and tricho. I'll go up and get a 5-gallon can of trichoethylene. I'll bring it up. I'll pour it on the deck and close all the doors, and me and my crew will go away for an hour or so, and then we can just come back and sweep up the curls and paint the deck. That's the answer. We did that. We poured that. I personally poured that 5-gallon can of trichoethylene on that deck and closed all the doors. Me and my crew went up to the division's cargo locker. It wasn't 15 minutes before fumes, man, your general quarter station, fumes everywhere. I knew. I ran down there, and man, that trichoethylene evaporating rapidly, putting fumes all over the area. The exhaust vents had picked it up and put those fumes throughout the ship, burning people's eyes. And my God, there was nothing to do but let it finish evaporating, which it didn't take long. But the general quarters, the damage control outfits on the ship got Red Devil blowers exhausting fumes throughout the ship to outside for hours. The ship's executive officer wanted to see me. Now. I go expecting the worst. He asked me about it, and I told him the whole story. He rolled his eyes and says, okay, don't do that no more. And I never heard no more about it. End of story.